Alright, welcome to the King of Catan Season 6 Grand Final between Nekthen, KayTwenty, LikeTheGroundhog, and myself. Quayabo has joined me for the commentary today. Thank you for joining me, Quayabo. What are your first thoughts on this first pick by Nekthen on the 8-4-10?
Thanks for having me, Treek. To me, it's a very difficult decision here. So I don't think his pick is completely unreasonable. It's 12 points of production. He's trying to get the best wheat production out there. It's very low wheat board, very low ore board. He gets a good combination of wood and brick. The only concern I have about it is the ore production. Yeah, I'm worried he might not get decent ore production on the way back. So I haven't seen this game, but I think that's potential risk there is that he won't get any ore on the way back, which, I mean, he could still do a road strategy, but it might be difficult. So the only other two thoughts that I had, and I don't know, maybe Treek, you can I'd like to hear what you have to say, but something like the 6-11-4, and it's only 10 points of production, but he gets ore and wheat, and it's a small wheat that won't get blocked, and he gets a one road to the wood port, or something like 8-4-3. I don't think it's unreasonable, but I think you could play it differently. What are your thoughts, Treek?
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. I think the 8-4-10 is, well, it's not a standalone, the best spot on the board, but it also has like the 8-3 next to it and the 4-3 next to it. So you have two relatively high producing settlement spots as your third and fourth settlement already lined up for you, as well as the sheep board. And I think in terms of spots that go well with it, it's the 9-11, the 6-2, or maybe the 6-3. I think they could work quite well with it, and as well as you said, like the wheat is super low. So actually, the 4 wheat, it's not that impressive, but it's the best on the board. You won't get any better wheat than that. Like 6-4-11, I think that can be played as well. I think 5-9-10 is one of the spots I was looking towards when I played this map as a potential first pick, but I also think it's a trap because of the low wheat. Like, the ore isn't gonna be worth as much as well. And I think the same can be said for the wood, because there is a lot of wood on this board. Like the 8, the 6, another 8, and a 5. So that also makes that spot a little bit worse. So yeah, I think I agree with Nekthen here on picking the 8-4-10 as the first pick. Yeah, so we have a lot of really strong players on this table. So we first have Nekthen, one of the players with the most playoff points in this season. And next up we have KayTwenty. KayTwenty is one of the strongest players in King of Catan. Has been that for like 15 plus seasons by now. Consistent 45% win rate.
I would rank him top 2 or 3 players that I've ever played against. He's an amazing player.
Actually, LikeTheGroundhog is one of these players who's kind of forgotten about how good he is, because he hasn't played recently. But back then, LikeTheGroundhog really made an impact in the few seasons he played. So I'm really curious to see what he is gonna come up with. And I'm playing in the game as well. So let's see if what would you do in KayTwenty's position here?
I'm not 100% sure, but I would either go, I think I'd go 6-4-11, get that wood port. So maybe a safer play would be the 6-4-3.
Yeah, like 6-4-3, and then point towards the 3-for-1 board. Yeah, I really like that. Picking up 2 wheat spots and doubling up on the 4 by placing on it 4-11. I don't think it's very likely Nekthen places on the 4-11 with his second settlement, and it's also very unlikely to be cut off by one of the other players. And it also prevents other players from playing on either the 6-4-11 or the 8-4-3, which is one of these other ore wheat spots. There are a few ore wheat spots on the board, like 6-4-11, 8-4-3, 6-4-3, 9-3-11 could be played, although you wouldn't be able to place on the 5-9-10 in that case.
Yeah, so he took the 6-4-3 like we thought.
I feel like this board favors third and fourth position. Do you agree with that?
I would agree, yeah, because like you said, there's all these wheat ore combos. Well, there's only one now, I guess. There's only one left, but there's decent spots, and the ability to maybe coordinate your production being third by grabbing some brick might be valuable in order to expand quickly.
I definitely think placing or blocking out the 6-5-11 is really important, because I wouldn't want LikeTheGroundhog to get there, as well as the 5-4-11 maybe, because that's a really strong combination spot as well. Although you could live with LikeTheGroundhog placing there, I guess. Maybe the 5-4-11 you want to take it yourself and then combine it with the 9-5-2. I think that would be a solid pick. A spot I'm also looking at is 9-5-2, 6-5-12, and then relying on the coordinated fives and then the wood with the wood board.
Yeah, that looks pretty good too. And then you'd start with the wheat, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, the thing is you play without sheep. I think someone needs to place on the 6 sheep in order to be enough sheep in the game to justify this play.
Well, it's going to be tough for everyone without the sheep, I guess, right? If you build on the 5-9-2, then you're one road away from either the 9-11 or the 6-2. 5-9-2-6. I like 5-9-2-6-5-12 now, just because it gives you a good chance of getting wood port than either 6-2, 9-11. You're giving away the 5-4-11, but hopefully the 4 gets blocked.
I would now go with 5-4-11, 9-5-2. That would be my play if I were to choose right now. But I know from playing this game a couple months back, I didn't make that decision. I went with something else. And I think that had to do with not wanting to leave the 6-5-12 and actually wanting to place on the wood board. And the reason for it is that you don't want to have too strong of a setup at the start, because many players want to block the player with the strongest setup at the start.
It's really something that comes up more and more. Like when you play higher quality players, your setup needs to be sneaky strong as opposed to just strong.
So we're gonna see the 9-5-2 and the 6-5-12 here.
Okay, so you did what my first instinct said. I think he takes the 4-5-11. I'm not sure, and then just trade for his wood. I think that's where I would play if I was gray.
Yeah, and then KayTwenty goes 9-5-10 with all the bricks, and then Nekthen has to go either 6-2, 6-3, or 9-11.
Where would Nekthen go? Sorry?
Potentially. Oh wow! LikeTheGroundhog is gonna go for the brick. What do you think of this play here?
I think he anticipates being able to trade his brick. Everyone's gonna have surplus wood. Everyone will have brick now because I'm assuming now KayTwenty is gonna take the 5-4-11. So it's interesting. I think it was maybe a defensive play against KayTwenty, but
I would expect 5-4-11 to be a better defensive play. Like KayTwenty now has coordinated or wheat and potential to connect his roads, all 5 resources, a 3-for-1 board. Yeah, maybe he didn't want to get in a race to the 9-11 with me, sure. But it really depends on what Nekthen does here, whether or not that decision can be made.
Yeah, what's he got? What's he gonna do? 9-11? Yeah, I guess that's where he's gonna build, right?
9-11 is a possibility, but I also think 6-2 or 6-3 is a possibility. Like if you place on 6-2, then you have a more easier route to the 6-3 and potential to connect your settlements. I don't know if that's the route you want to go, especially considering KayTwenty now has a really easy road to connect his settlements. I think I don't have a shot at road. Well, very unlikely, so I'm forced to go army. So we start off with a 7. So Nekthen has sheep and ore. So he's looking for a wheat here. So KayTwenty has a really strong setup. Yeah, this makes sense.
You wouldn't mind getting a wheat though, I think, and that's KayTwenty, right?
Yeah. Oh, actually gets it. So starts off with a development card.
Yeah.
And that was really unfortunate for me because I only have the 12 to get my wheat from. So
yeah, that's the worst possible thing that could have happened to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Now it's going to slow you down. That slows you down so much. Now you kind of got to give up the 9-11. I didn't quite see the 6-2 being taken. Now I see your setup as not being as strong as I originally thought. Just because now you're not going to get that extra spot that I thought you'd get, either the 9-11 or the 6-2. KayTwenty also has to be careful about, he wants to get, like, you could plow him to the 3-for-1 port, but that'd be extremely risky for you. So I think KayTwenty we'll make sure to get the 3-for-1, and then we'll try to get the 911.
Oh wow, this is a Groundhog traded in 4 bricks for wood. So that's also the reason he stole from me, because he had the possibility to get wood from me.
And this is a quick. Are people playing really this quickly, Treek?
Nowadays not that much, but at that a few months ago we were a lot faster. I assume this is either gonna go on a 9 or the 10 brick.
He's probably trying to get someone to give him a card right now,
yeah.
So he doesn't block him. I don't know.
Is there a specific card we know he wants to get? I mean, he started off with sheep. He hasn't been robbed yet.
Probably wants a wood.
Or is always good. So I assume I'm the target here again. Yes.
Now he's gonna build a road, I would imagine. A 3-for-1.
Yeah.
So that's a good roll for Nekthen, but it's a good roll for you.
Yeah, and KayTwenty is 1 brick away from the settlement on the 411 and now has it. So KayTwenty has a perfect settlement in his hand. I can build the road now, especially knowing that KayTwenty doesn't go for the 911 first.
Yeah, I always worry about these moves. Just if ever you get blocked out of that wood port, but I think that's the right move. I would have done that too. It's stressful a little bit, but
yeah. But I feel like at this point in the game, I don't have a shot at winning if I don't get the 911 here.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
So that's the settlement.
KayTwenty off to a strong start.
Yeah.
But that means kind of clear that he needs to be blocked at this point, right? If I'm anyone but KayTwenty right now, I'm blocking KayTwenty. I think wherever it hurts him the most.
So here's what I should do right now. I should ask for a second card that's not brick, because basically anything will help me with that. Like Groundhog is looking for that wood pretty. Well, he wants to settle right now, so I assume he's willing to give something for it. Okay, I didn't go with that. So Nekthen is off to a strong start as well. If he settles, then he has the settlement, and he also has the development card already. Has low ore, but if he gets that sheep board, he has a way to generate ore and wheat in another way. So yeah. I really think Nekthen, if he settles, is in the best spot right now. Okay, I could get the 1-for-1 deal with Groundhog. I assume I'm going to take this, or maybe I should try to get the wheat instead. Although sheep is even more rare for me than the wheat is. I think the sheep is fine because I don't generate it.
Back to Nekthen. I think Nekthen's pretty strong too, but I don't think he's like super crazy. He's got the dev card, which is right, which gives him a slight edge, but I still think KayTwenty would be stronger in my opinion. So I wouldn't mind trading with him at this point if it helps me.
No, for sure. Everyone is still in a position they can be easily caught back from, especially if you can make moves yourselves. Heavily considering not taking this deal apparently. So why would that be? Either because I expect he can give me more on his turn, or maybe I'm doubtful this is a good move for me.
Well, I guess I would question it if it was me, because I think you got to be thinking that's a settlement, right? Because you're still 2 cards away from your settlement, right? Even if you get this, if you'd be 1 away, then it'd be closer to make the trade. But now you're just giving him a settlement, right? So I agree with you're doing it. So he needs to give you 2 cards for this.
So let's see if Groundhog accepts it. No, he does not. So maybe this deal does go through on his turn, but not right now. And I think that makes sense for the Groundhog.
Still doesn't have ore though, I guess. But if 4s come, watch out KayTwenty. But so it can't do much unless he can trade a wood away. But everyone has wood, so.
Do you think KayTwenty will go for the race with me to the 911, or do you think he concedes it?
Well, I think he's almost got to concede it, because on 5s, if 5s roll, he needs brick, right, to get there. Mm-hmm. And anytime a 5 rolls, you get a wood and a brick. Depends. I try to get it if I get the right rolls because of the 3-for-1 port, I guess. He's got wheat and sheep production. You do not have any wheat production. So he would know that you need to trade for that unless the 12 comes. And you don't have sheep production either. So I would actually try for it depending on what happens. I wouldn't lay down the road until I know I've got it, but if I was KayTwenty, I'd hold to try to get it for sure. But the 4-3 is also pretty strong for KayTwenty as well, right? So
like it's 5 points of production with 2 different spots, including wheat, which is the, in my opinion, most important resource on this specific board. What are your thoughts on what is the strongest resource in general?
I think when you're playing with kind of average players, I'd say ore. When you're playing with higher level players, I think it completely ore dependent, but I would say ore and brick in general. Brick kind of goes up in value, I think, with the higher level players, because when you're playing higher level players, they all know about the ore wheat sheep strategy, and people kind of fight each other for that strategy. Building roads and, you know, expanding quickly becomes kind of more of a viable strategy, and that's where brick becomes a lot more important. And brick is usually rare, right? So brick and ore are usually, because there's only 3 hexes, are going to be rare more often. So in general, I'd say ore, and I'd say higher level games, brick is up there as well. You know, everyone's opinion, but
yeah, I'd say wheat is up there as well, because it's always gonna be demanded for trades, like whether or not it's rare or not rare.
Wheat is up there for sure. Yeah. That wouldn't disagree with that. No wheat means defeat exists as a saying, because it's generally true. I mean, I've seen a lot of great players win without wheat, but kind of takes a specific situation where there's tons of wheat on the board. Generally, wheat very, very important. I'd say almost as important as ore, but I think people underrate ore sometimes. So
I rolled a 7 and blocked KayTwenty's ore. I think the reason for that is like if the 4s roll, KayTwenty could really snowball into a commanding lead here, to be able to keep up with that. And I also want to block him because he is potentially raising me. So
yeah, that was, to me, no choice there. Like, plus he doesn't have ore right now, right? So
Nekthen gets the settlement on the sheep board. So it's we definitely gotta watch out for him as well right now. I believe he doesn't have a knight as his development card, but I'm not quite sure about it.
I don't think he's been blocked. It's hard to say, right? Don't remember. I haven't played Nekthen in a while. I don't think he would play it if he's not blocked.
Generally not, no. Nah.
So I don't. I would say I don't know.
Another 9 block and 9 roll combination. Yeah, I'm looking at the stats.
Classic CU. There's 12. You almost got to save it. You have to save it, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I won't get a development card here. I'm quite certain of that. So maybe I could trade with LikeTheGroundhog or for brick, but I'm not sure whether or not he has a brick in his hand. And also with 1 card, it's very unlikely. Just this deal. I don't agree with offering this trade. Nobody is gonna do this, and it only gives away information about my hand.
Everyone at 2 cards or less, very unlikely that you get a trade.
And I won't do 2 ore for a brick regardless, so that's...
I would do it in an auto match. I would offer it in an auto match, just because you never know. But not here. Nekthen's pretty sneaky. No one's blocking him in this spot, right? You got the dev... more brick. The 9 being there really hurts Groundhog. Can't do anything.
Yeah. Do you agree with this route from Nekthen going to the brick board? Going maybe for the 6-3 instead?
Yeah, I think 6-3. I mean, no, it's not bad. I don't mind it so much because it's... I mean, yeah, you could make the case for the 6-3. The case for this one is it's only 1 road away, and it quickly gets him more sheep production. Brickport isn't that valuable for him, but you never know, it might be valuable at some point. Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't think it's a big difference between going to the 6-3 or not really committed to any one of those. What do you think?
Well, this 5 roll came just in time. That's what I know. No, I have the settlement on the... I think the brickboard does not do that much, especially with the higher wood than brick balance you have. Although I think the difference between the 6-3 and just the lone 6 isn't that big. I would still go for the 6-3. Also, it sets you up for long strokes while taking some pacing. While you build your second road, others can maybe get a settlement which makes it show that they have 4 points and you have 3, so you can go under the radar a little bit for a while.
That's a very good point that I need to consider more when I play. So that makes sense. The other thought I just had was the 4-3, but then it's too risky because KayTwenty is going there too. But I think 4-3 would actually be strongest spot.
Yeah. The real thing for Nekthen is right now, I think actually now he picked up that sheep board, his goal shouldn't be to get a settlement, but to get a city instead. And that's quite difficult, considering he barely generates any ore. But now with the sheep board, he has a moment to get a city before the leader gets dropped all the time, and before he has 5 settlements down and is forced to go for a city, and before the monopoly phase starts to happen. So I would, in his case, go for a city instead.
Treek, like that point, I think not 100% sure I 100% agree with that. Like I think, I get the city if it comes really easily, but I think for him, to me, dev cards would be just as good because with this sheep port, I mean, he needs more production though too, right? So whether he gets production with settlements or with a city would be better. But where's he going to city on the 8-10-4? I guess if he cities on the 8-10-4, he's going to be able to build roads, not really get more sheep production. So maybe he should try to wait for the city. It's but at the same time, like it's going to be so hard for him to get a city unless he gets maybe a good development card.
The thing is, there is only like 4 development cards that really, well, victory points are somewhat useful, but only 4 development cards that really help him get a city, and I think that's not worth it just to go for that. And if you get knights, there's no way you can compete for army, I think, with like the Groundhog.
The only counter argument I would say is if he has 1 victory point, so your point would be save up for the city, fall a little bit behind, and then once you have your city, now go crazy on settlements.
Yeah, for example, you can also make the decision to go for devs, but KayTwenty with an explosive turn here as he builds on the 4-3 and also gets a road down towards the 4-8.
KayTwenty looks so strong right now. A 4 is like a city for him almost,
Yeah, for sure. If the 4 rolls, then KayTwenty is really difficult to beat, especially with the longest road setup. Like people only if the 5 rolls, I would be able to cut him off. KayTwenty blocking the 5 wood is a really excellent idea. And we just had a 12 roll, so I picked up a weed. So I'm actually quite close to a city as well.
City would be great for you too.
Sure.
You don't have any ports yet though, but I mean, you will. City on the 6-5-12 isn't bad, I think.
Like the Groundhog is trying to get wheat here. So I could use this opportunity to get sheep from him. Would this give like the Groundhog a settlement though?
Or a dev. I think if I'd be like the Groundhog, I'd be. No one's buying devs yet, right? Yeah. I'd be trying to get maybe a dev or a settlement's good too. He's got the 3-for-1 port. He needs to slow down. He needs to slow down KayTwenty.
But I agree with you. Like Nekthen is going for army a little bit, but
yeah, I think if KayTwenty gets a chance, he's buying devs. I think anyone at this point gets a chance, they're going to buy devs because it's all up for grabs right now, right? You want to get that lead.
Yeah, maybe outside of me, like I could still go for road if the 5s roll, and I would be able to connect. So I've in my opinion, I have a really interesting spot. Like, what should I do here? Like, should I go for army with only a 12 wheat and barely any sheep? Or should I go for road and just hope the 5s roll and connect? Or shouldn't I do any of those?
Okay, so I kind of like your spot here because it's a bit sneaky. So I think first priority is definitely get that wood port. So I think your trade that you're trying to do there was good. I wouldn't give up 4 ore to get that wood port right now, though. But
No.
I think getting that wood port then gives you a chance for either one. I think once you get that wood port, you got a great chance for army, and you got a great chance for road. So you play it by ear from there, depending on what gets rolled. But so I think if I was you here, I'd buy a dev and build a road if no one trades with you. But
Okay, so I'm gonna offer a 2-for-1 with ore here. So this has gotta be a very enticing deal.
I think that's a good plan.
Yeah, so like the Groundhog likes it.
I like this move.
It's a lot better than 4-for-1 for sure. And also the ore is not that valuable in my hand with only a 12 weed.
Yeah, it might be extremely helpful for like the Groundhog, but he's only got 2 cards, right? So and he's giving you one of them, right? So so what's he gonna have left? He's gonna probably have a brick and 2 ore. It's not that devastating, right? So this is a great trade for you.
He also only on the 3 weed. He does have a 3-for-1 port and a lot of production, so
yeah, so he's strong, but now I think this sets you, once you get that wood port, you're pretty much unblockable. The 9 is really the only spot that really hurts you.
Okay, it seems like I'm going to deny it. And go for the bank instead. Okay, this is interesting. So the reasoning here is that 2 ore still doesn't matter to me. I don't know if I agree with this.
I personally would have kept the 2 ore streak, but you can make the argument for either side.
Especially now the 12-year-old, yeah. This hurts.
Just because it doesn't help like the Groundhog that much, right? He would have had 1 brick and 2 ore.
Yeah.
It's easy to change your mind after you see what happens, right? So Nekthen, he's got 1 card, probably pass the dice. Maybe he's got a mono. Seemed like he was thinking about that for a while, but no, nobody's got any cards. K20's only got 1 card.
So no big moves this orbit. As we see the 9 roll, so this would have been a city. Let's see what Nekthen is able to come up with. He rolls the 8, gets more wood. So I believe Nekthen has at least 4 wood in his hand right now. That's also where the brick board doesn't really help him, because he gains a lot of wood and every brick is needed for him to get going. Would your next move be build 2 roads towards the 6-3?
Yeah, 6-3 block. Make sure you block off K20, so it would do it. Or try to trade for a city somehow, but be extremely doubtful. If he has a mono, that's where the brick port could help him. Even with the mono, he's probably saving it for, a couple 4s get rolled or a couple 9s, and he's going to get ore, right? So even with the mono, it's still not that valuable because he's probably using it on ore.
But in his case, probably ore, yes. Generate a lot. So we see it then.
Might be a good time to start getting down.
On the flip side, it's probably the case for every player to like road is easier than army.
Army's up for grabs right now, and I think controlling that robber. So if you get soldiers, you can control the robber, basically block whoever's winning. If you don't, if you get a year of plenty, then you can pivot to, or if you get a mono, you can pivot to something else.
It's gonna be the city.
Yeah, city.
Okay.
Which is not a bad play either, but
yeah. Do you agree with the 9-3-11 here?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so city for me as well, or will I try to get double sheep for ore? No, it's gonna be the city.
Yeah, just city. Interesting game. Not a lot of devs bought, so people in this game are kind of going for the make sure they get their production, which is a good way of playing. Also, competition for road looks like it could be fierce.
Yeah, for sure. Like all players could compete for both win conditions, and that makes this a really interesting game. Who do you think is in the lead right now?
Well, I think it's Groundhog now. You were Groundhog, but Groundhog's got 9 cards. So I'd say Groundhog. It surprises me, but I guess K20 didn't get any 4s, right? So that's kind of why Groundhog's in the lead. I think definitely Groundhog now, for sure. He's 1 road away from, longest road, which is too early to count. But Yeah, so no fours for K20. And now he's going devs, which is absolutely the right play now. Just go devs at this point, and he can probably pull away if he doesn't get stopped. I don't know where to block him either. So everyone's going to want to block the 9. Oh, and you get a VP, which isn't the end of the world.
Oh, the victory point glitch was still a thing. Or the first victory point glitch was still a thing in this game. So we could maybe see whether or not Nekthen or LikeTheGroundhog has a victory point. So Nekthen gets the road down, still 9 cards in hand. So
probably in the short term, you would want Nekthen to get the road, just because LikeTheGroundhog is so much closer. I think you've got a couple options here. I think I would still fight for the army if I was you. And depending on which devs you get, either get the army or, use those cards to get to 8 points and then get the road at the end for the win. I think getting soldiers is going to be pretty important here because LikeTheGroundhog is super strong right now.
Yeah, for sure. And he needs to be contested for the army by at least one of the players in order to not give him a really efficient way of getting his 10 victory points. And that's the advantage of me going for that, is that LikeTheGroundhog uses his knight first, and then instantly the moment after I place my knight on him back, and he has to wait a couple turns to get his knight activated again. So that's the advantage I have over him in terms of a battle for the army. So it seems like Nekthen is trying to negotiate a deal here. Oh, he's actually going to use a knight here. Interesting.
So he did have a knight the whole time.
And now he's in a position he needs to city up next because he's out of settlement. And we see the first 4. So hooray for K20, and he gets development cards.
He's getting a dev, yeah. One more 4 gets a city.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, because Nekthen is now leading the army race. And also it seems like LikeTheGroundhog doesn't have a knight. Although maybe it wouldn't matter that much to him whether or not the 5 is blocked. So
I don't know that he would necessarily play it in that situation because he's still the master of brick, right?
For sure. This hurts me way more than it hurts him. And it also hurts K20 a little bit, so
what's your next move, Treek?
My next move is probably still trying to compete for army. At this point in time, I was more production focused than I am right now, so it could also be trying to save up for a city on a 952. Because the plan, sitting up on a 952 and then trying to get road, could be easily stopped by K20 going with 3 roads while connecting his settlements.
So yeah, there's a couple ways you could look at it. You could try to get to 8 just the traditional way with maybe a city and another settlement and then get the road. Or you could buy devs and hope that either you get cards that help you get points or get the army. I think either. I think I'd try to get devs, but
yeah, there's also the option to potentially get the road now, but I feel like that's a lose now move. That makes it so the other players are focused on chasing you and not working with you to chase someone else.
It's tough when there's that road in the middle, right? Do you get it early or do you wait? I think in this spot I would wait because your production is so good, right? You have really good production anyways. So you could win with other means than the road. If it becomes available to you, then you can take it at some point.
And there's the city by K20. The one we've been expecting. Do you agree with 643 over the 5-4-11? Oh, we see a 7 here.
Probably.
I feel like there's an argument to be made for both, but I feel like sitting up the 5-4-11 makes you a little bit less blockable than sitting up the 6-4-3. The 4 could easily get blocked right now by LikeTheGroundhog.
Agreed. I think maybe K20's thinking I shouldn't be blocked right now. I'm a little bit too far behind. People might block him anyways.
And he also just now got city, and people see, hey, if a 4 rolls, then he gets another city. If he gets another city, how do we stop him? Maybe K20 has a knight, and this argument is not as relevant. So actually, the 4 wheat gets blocked here, and K20 gets stolen from by LikeTheGroundhog.
Everyone's kind of a threat right now. I mean, I'd say. I don't know who I'd be worried the least about. I think I'd be worried the least about So he's going to cut off K20.
Road in the process, go to 8 victory points. Wow. Maybe also get a development card, go to 9. I feel like this really put the target on the back of LikeTheGroundhog. I don't know if doing this move right now is the best. You'd see a lot of robbers going his way.
But at the same time, he's got such good production that even if he's blocked, like, where's the worst he could get blocked? The 9, probably.
Yeah, and that hurts me as well.
Still has the 4. It's good for you, but I think if you can get a dev card here, I would do it. But
now I think the best move is still to 2-for-1 the wood into weed.
And at this point, you might be able to trade with Nekthen. I think he's becoming less of a threat now. I mean, you wouldn't mind him getting rolled for a bit and them fighting over it for a while.
Like, the ideal situation would be like me going for army and all the other players trying to fight for road.
Yeah, that's what I'd be trying to play for. But, I mean, these guys are smart, so we'll see what happens.
And that's what everyone now attempts to do, to get the to be the lone competitor for a single win condition. I think it would be a really big mistake to go for 2 win conditions at the same time, especially right now with all these players going for having the potential to go for either win condition. I feel like you really gotta make a decision here. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with that. So, and my general thought is on that, and maybe this is wrong, but I would prefer to go for army. It gives you a lot of flexibility. If ever you get different cards than you expect, then you can go for road instead, or for both if ever you get, the miracle card or whatever. But maybe it doesn't work as well against really strong players. But my preference has always been to go for army when you're kind of in the middle, because it's never a lost investment. It can be a lost investment, but usually getting dev cards pays off in some way, as opposed to building roads.
Even if it goes wrong, you can pick up something else that's useful.
So now Nekthen becomes kind of scary because of his ability to connect his roads.
However, he still needs another development card for the night, and also needs a 10 victory point still, so that's
exactly, because he can't city up, right?
Yeah. And we see a 5 which is really relevant for me, and we see a 4 which is really relevant for K20.
And LikeTheGroundhog's got 8 points and 13 cards.
Yeah.
Might have to do defensive road here and get people to trade you some roads. Yeah, he could win here. I mean, what would he need? He would need probably road settle city.
Yeah, I'm more looking towards a victory point from the death card stack. So I would put down 2 roads on the 5 wood and settle there. If you only can make 1 move, I think that would be the best move you can make. Then you can still connect around the 8 wood, have 11 roads in total.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely, you wanna. If you don't win here, you want to extend your road a little bit.
It seems like he's gonna go for either city or development cards instead.
Which is a good play, I think, when you're at,
sure, city is
9
great
points.
as well.
Yeah, so even if he loses road, he's still at 7, and he likely will lose road. I would imagine people have got to help you connect here, I would say, but it might be a negotiation between who gets it between you and K20 or Nekthen. But it's almost got to be a defensive play now.
Oh, this is so tough. You have like so many options, like from my position, from Nekthen's position, from K20's position. Like, you really gotta make a decision, like, where do I go for now? Like the Groundhog is really clear in he goes for the longest road, but all the other players have to make a really tough decision, and this 12 is super huge for me. I could city, like, the best case scenario would be trade 2 weeds and 2 ore for 2 roads and connect while building a city.
I would imagine there'd be a lot of conversation here between you, K20, and Nekthen on deciding who should get road. I would say, I mean, the other option is just a city and trade your 2 wood and 2 brick to, like, Nekthen. Let him get the road. Then he might be at 9 once he gets the army. But you could maybe trade it for, like, a couple sheep if he's got some sheep. And then you could try for army, so many options. But I think that'd be my first instinct to try, is see if I can give it to Nekthen, get my city and get some devs.
I believe there hasn't been a 3 or a 6 recently, because LikeTheGroundhog traded his resources in for wheat, so that means the 3 hasn't rolled recently. And if the 6 had rolled, I would have more wood.
Right.
Because I got these one from the 5, or at least the last one.
So this must have been after some conversation. So they're going to help you get the road, but it needs to happen. Either you, Nekthen, or K20 has to take road here, I would imagine.
Sure, and I think I agree with my own move from a few months ago to, like, if I don't go for road now, I have to go for army. And I think that might even be more expensive for me than going for road, especially how my resource gain is built up.
You don't have great dev card production, but you do have a nice wood port.
Yeah, and we also got to look at from K20's perspective, like, how does he win? If he gets a city, does that mean he is back in the game, or should he compete for road? And I feel like in his position, he should either go for road or army. Maybe if he has a knight, then it's possible for him to get largest army instead.
So, because the city puts him at 6, maybe 7, but he can't get any other points, basically. Like, he can get cities, right?
Yeah.
Every 4 is a city for him.
So what I could do now as well is trade in my 2 wood for a sheep, get a development card, and then potentially get a city.
That's not a bad play, in my opinion. City plus a dev. The only thing is I think that's what I would do if no one trades with me. I mean, I would absolutely try to get a trade with someone, but I don't think there's any sheep out there, right? So that makes it hard. And K20 just said he wouldn't do the brick. I think you would be happy if K20 takes it as well. Like, if you get a city and a dev here, right, you're at 7. You've got a soldier potentially or another card, and K20 might be at 8 if he cuts across, but he's got to fight for the road. That I don't think that's bad for you if that's what's happening.
No, for sure. So yeah, it seems like I'm going for this play indeed.
Yeah, I like this. Plus, you're gonna get more wood later, right? Like, wood is kind of your excess resource.
Oh,
so you get road building.
Oh, that's interesting.
So now you're at 7. So if somehow you could get, a city plus cut through the middle, you could win, right?
Yeah, and another 4, so another city for K20.
But that was a really pivotal turn. That last turn, Treek, that was Catan at its finest. Like, it was just so many different options, so many different things to think about. And
yeah, for sure. That's really cool stuff. Like, in theory, you only have a couple of options. Like, you can get a dev, you can get a road, you can get a settlement and a city. But in terms of where you go long term, like, these decisions become really influential of what you do over the course of the game. So that's the beauty of the game, in my opinion. Okay, so we see the wood for or wheat trade, and Nekthen connects his road and gets the longest road.
So that's a very interesting decision, and I think it's a very strong one by K20.
Yeah, so maybe double city for him, or, well, probably dev cards. That makes a lot more sense. And he picks up the sheep here.
Oh, huge roll for K20.
Yeah. And we know, LikeTheGroundhog has now 2 wheat and at least 1 ore in his hand.
He's going to get as many devs as he can, I guess, and then get cities. Would be what I would imagine here.
Yeah, it really depends on what development cards you get. If you get victory points, then maybe getting even going without a city, if it's possible, is the right play.
Yeah, exactly.
If he gets a knight, then definitely city up. Oh wow, double city and a development card.
That's scary.
That could be 9 victory points here.
Thing is, now he's got to block. He's got to block K20.
Yeah, for sure. Gotta be the 4 wheat, I guess.
But I'm not sure, because you're also a threat.
And Nekthen is also a threat. Like, he could still easily get army. Gets a dev card this turn, then he has it. If he gets a knight, of course. And then with 9 points, everything is possible.
And the thing is, even if he blocks the 4, if the 4s come, still a ton of wheat for K20. So he went there, okay.
You might, though, make the call, though, like, if the 4 rolls, he's gonna win regardless. So let's just hope the 4 doesn't roll and block something else instead.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, it depends. He could still be 3 points away, right? Like that. Those two dev cards are scary, but at the same time, they could be nothing, right? They could be just road buildings.
Like the
But
Groundhog
it is
wants to
scary.
get ore. So he has 2 wheat, 1 ore. Doesn't have 2 1 board if I'm not mistaken. So that means he might have a second ore in his hand.
I guess he's got to get his eighth point. He's got to get a settlement. That's what he's trying to do, I guess.
Yeah.
And then get the 8 points, and then hopefully just kind of steal the road. That would be, I guess, what he's thinking.
I don't think this is a good deal for me. Even if I hope the 9 rolls.
No, I would not be trading this. I don't think. You still need another point before you can even start thinking about stealing the road. But if he gives you, so you've already got brick. You're trying to get another brick, which I guess if wood comes, then.
Yeah, and then with the road building, then I take road this turn. Or no, I would die for road this turn.
Yeah, that's what and then you can still cut through the middle if ever in the future. Mm-hmm. If a 5 comes.
Yeah, like it seems like a K20 is invested in army, so it's less likely he will cut me off through the middle.
Because even if so it's at 8 right now. Even if he goes 3 roads in the middle, that only puts him at 8. And he's only got 2 more to expand. It would be very risky. I think he's given up on road, yeah. I mean, he might do it just so you don't get it, though, but...
That's very possible, because, like, if the 6 and the 5 roll, he doesn't have any settlement spots available to him.
Yeah, because you're probably as far as...
Ooh, so I actually give the city.
Okay.
I don't know if I agree with my move here, but now the 5 rolls, it's a brilliant move. So, so now I would be able to take road on this turn with 3 roads and the road building.
I would consider going to the 5 just because, like, the Groundhog can go to 9 if he builds 3 roads. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. No, that's the right play. Because then it'll make it much harder for, like, the Groundhog to...
Yeah, to win on his next turn. I think I would go down as well, because if, like, the Groundhog does road settlement, I wouldn't be able to build on the 9-12.
The other thought I had on that is yeah, so that's one factor. The other factor is you got 2 options, right? So there's no way Nekthen's ever going to get there before you because he needs to get a city first. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the safer play. So now you're 1 card away from winning right now. So yep. Super strong. And no one, like, they're going to have to spend all their resources. Like, you're pretty unstoppable now, actually. Yeah, that was definitely a good move, going through the middle. K20, unless he's got 2 VPs, no one's really even threatening you. Oh, Nekthen took a card, so he's still so far away because he's got to get a city.
Yep.
I think you're pretty unstoppable right now. But you're definitely going to get blocked.
You need to block the 8 here. Or at least block me and steal a brick from, like, the Groundhog. Otherwise, he can win on this turn if the 8 rolls.
Yeah, exactly. He's 4 roads away, right? Because if he goes around that 8, that gives him 9.
Yeah.
And then 1 more. So he's 4 roads away from winning. If an 8 comes, he wins. Exactly. But at the same time, if almost anything comes, you win too. 9 ore prevents you from winning.
Okay, so he's gonna go for the 8
here. So that's what he's thinking, right? He's not maybe sure that you have a VP.
Yeah. Well, he knows that I don't have to win in hand right now. So 11 is not that likely, but right. 6 and 5 still are. So yeah, and I have 2 rules. So yeah, let's see. We know there's no way, like, the Groundhog wins right now, and he actually blocked it. Wow.
Yeah, so that prevented the win, actually. I mean,
yeah. Unless he had stolen the brick from him by placing it on another spot. But
so now all you need is a 5, a 6, a 9, an 11.
Yeah. In Groundhog's case, I would definitely place down my roads here because of the risk of one of the other players having a monopoly. Ooh, he actually doesn't do it. And there's the 10, and that's not it.
Doesn't do it. Ouch. So if you build 2 roads, do you clinch it over like the Groundhog? I think you do, right? So maybe that makes sense. So if you go 2 roads down to the 5, you clinch it. So if he goes around now, he's 9. He can still go to 12. And, well, Nekthen's not that close because he's got to get a city, but...
Seems like I'm gonna put down the second road.
Yeah, that's not a bad move either.
But it really seems like it was a mistake to point upwards, right?
I think it's not a big difference, but potentially going down would have been better.
Let me see the 5. Some more roads for the groundhog.
Well, maybe KayTwenty's got a mono to save you.
But yeah, that would potentially mean that the game is done as well, so...
Yeah. Well, he would have had to do it on like brick or something. Yeah. But
with KayTwenty on 8 cards, I would steal from like the groundhog regardless.
Yeah, you gotta steal from groundhog. These end of game situations where everyone has a chance to win are always difficult. But you still gotta try to figure out who's more likely to win, right? And it can be very difficult in these situations.
I feel like KayTwenty only wins if he gets the 4 to roll, so you just gotta assume the 4 doesn't roll, because if you block either of them, that probably doesn't help you enough to stop him.
And like the groundhog only wins if he can build 6 roads. I think 9 or again, because I think probably the quickest way like the groundhog could win would be city settlement.
Yeah. I believe KayTwenty has like 6 brick in his hand, so he's not that close to winning. If the 4 doesn't roll, he doesn't have a shot at it. I think maybe with a death card, but.
And usually KayTwenty, when you play against him in these situations, he'll tell you if you don't have victory points. So I don't know if there was any conversation about that when you guys played. So he does block KayTwenty. Interesting. So I guess maybe he's hoping that KayTwenty can move it.
No clue.
So the problem with Nekthen is even if he builds roads, he still doesn't win, even if he steals the road until he gets he's by far the least threat, I would say.
Oh, another 10.
Yeah, 21 cards. Oh, that's game over. I don't know. He's got to go 3 for 1, but
it's 10 sheep. Then still have 2 sheeps left, so that's 6 cards in total, and 6 of them spent, so 15 cards, 9 cards left. And he needs 6 in terms of wood brick, and
that's game. Yeah, that's got to be game. He didn't get anything though, so you're winning next turn, but he's probably winning here.
As you can see with the mistake I made by going upwards, like I could have prevented the 6 road possibility.
Yeah, and there's so many little things like that you've got to think about. So he's creating. He's going 6 roads, I think. But I think he probably would have had it, even if you would have gone down with the road settlement. He probably would have had it too.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, GG. Like the Groundhog takes the Season 6 Grand Final for the King of Catan base game tournament. So congratulations to him. If you agree with our analysis, please let us know. What do you think were interesting plays? Let us know in the comments. And I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.